You spend so much time trying to be chosen that you forget you were never made to beg for what's meant for you. You bend, you shrink, you show up in ways that don't even feel like you anymore, and still, you're left wondering if you're enough. Wondering if maybe, just maybe, if you were quieter, sexier, funnier, less needy, more patient, they'd finally see your worth. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. When someone isn't choosing you, it's not because you're not enough. It's because they were never meant to have access to you in the first place. You keep trying to prove yourself to people who were never built to hold your depth. You're giving ocean to people afraid to get wet. And every time you water yourself down, hoping someone finally stays, you reinforce a belief that you're only lovable when you're less than who you are. But here's where everything changes, when you decide that you no longer need to be chosen. When you stop waiting for someone to validate your value, that's when you finally get your power back. The moment you stop chasing love is the moment you start attracting respect. You stop begging for scraps and start sitting at the table you built for yourself. You stop auditioning for people who can't see your light, because your light was never meant to be dimmed for someone else's comfort. This isn't about playing games or pretending you don't care. This is about finally seeing yourself clearly. It's about choosing yourself in rooms that make you feel small. It's about walking away not to teach them a lesson, but to remind yourself of your standards and the hard truth. Sometimes walking away hurts more than staying. Because even if they weren't good for you, even if they made you feel anxious and unseen, a part of you still clung to the hope that they'd change, that they'd wake up and finally become the person they promised to be. But hope can become a cage when it keeps you trapped in potential. You fell in love with the idea of them, not the reality. And that's why it hurts, because you're grieving the story you created in your head, not the person they actually were. There's nothing weak about missing someone who didn't treat you right. That doesn't make you naive. It makes you human. You gave, you tried, you showed up, and in the end, it wasn't reciprocated. But your worth was never tied to their ability to see it. Your value doesn't disappear just because someone couldn't recognize it. In fact, the moment someone walks away is often the moment the universe starts protecting you from what would have destroyed you later. The reason you feel like you're stuck in cycles is because your heart is loyal to patterns. You mistake familiarity for love. You confuse inconsistency for chemistry. And the moment someone gives you breadcrumbs, you start calling it a feast. That's not love. That's survival. You've been surviving in spaces you were meant to thrive in. And that's why your soul is tired, because it was never meant to be starved. So what do you do when you finally wake up to your worth? You stop calling it love when it costs you your peace. You stop over-explaining your value to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop trying to fix what didn't break because of you, and you start healing. Not to be better for someone else, but to be whole for yourself. Healing is not revenge. It's not about proving anything. It's about finally choosing peace over chaos, dignity over desperation, growth over comfort. You want to know the most powerful thing you can do? Walk away without a dramatic goodbye. No final text, no last plea, just silence, because nothing is louder than the absence of your energy. Let them feel what it's like to lose someone who would have done anything to love them right. Let them sit with the echo of your effort. Let them realize that silence isn't emptiness, it's a boundary, one they taught you to create. And here's the shift most people miss. When you let go of the people who were draining you, your life doesn't become empty. It becomes available for the love that sees you, the friendships that uplift you, the peace that restores you. You create space for what's real by releasing what's forcing you to settle. It's not about being cold. It's about being clear. Clarity is the beginning of freedom. People will call you too much. When they're not equipped to handle the more that you are, let them. You're not too much. You're just not for them. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Stop editing yourself for temporary affection. You weren't made to be tolerated. You were made to be celebrated, and the moment you fully embody that truth, everything around you starts to change. Relationships are not auditions for your worth. They're reflections of what you believe you deserve. So if you're accepting confusion, inconsistency, hot hand, cold energy, it's not because that's all that's out there. It's because a part of you still thinks that's all you deserve, but here's your wake-up call. You were never meant to fight for crumbs. You were born for the banquet. It's time you act like it. Let's talk about emotional confidence, the kind that doesn't come from external validation, but from inner alignment. When you know who you are, you stop reacting to rejection. Rejection becomes redirection. You no longer fall apart when someone pulls away because you weren't clinging to them for your wholeness. You realize that what you lose in people, you gain in peace, and peace will always be more valuable than forced connection. There's a version of you on the other side of this pain who is magnetic, grounded, and deeply aligned. She doesn't chase, she chooses. She doesn't beg, she embodies. She doesn't wait to be loved, she is love. And she's waiting for you to rise. You don't have to be unbothered to be powerful. You just have to stop abandoning yourself for people who make you question your worth. You're allowed to feel, to cry. To grieve, to be angry, that doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. But when the storm passes, and it will let it teach you, let it refine you, let it show you what you'll never again accept. Healing doesn't mean you never look back. It means when you do, you see it clearly and you're grateful you left. Growth feels like loneliness sometimes, but it's never emptiness, it's preparation. You're becoming the version of yourself that can finally hold the kind of love you deserve, not because you've earned it, but because you've stopped settling for what wasn't it. And when that love arrives in a partner, in a friendship, or in your own reflection, you'll understand why it never worked out with those who couldn't hold your heart. You'll stop blaming yourself for being too much and start honoring yourself for finally being enough for you. This is the beginning, the part where you stop chasing and start choosing, the part where you stop explaining and start embodying, the part where you look in the mirror and say, I'm done proving my worth. From now on, I'm only aligning with what already sees it. You don't need more time, you need more truth, the truth about what you want, the truth about what you've been tolerating, the truth about who you've become while waiting for things to change. There's nothing more heartbreaking than waking up one day and realizing you've been loyal to a life that doesn't feel like your own. But it's not too late. You still have time to rewrite the narrative. And it begins the moment you decide, I choose me. Choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's sacred, because when you choose yourself, you stop asking others to rescue you. You stop hoping someone else will make you feel worthy. You stop outsourcing your joy, you reclaim the pen, and from that moment on, you become the author of your own healing. Stop waiting to be ready. No one is ever truly ready. We just reach a point where staying the same becomes more painful than risking change. So we leap, we rise, we choose courage, not comfort, and that's where the real growth begins. The path won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of consistency. Not perfection, consistency, the you who sets boundaries without guilt, the you who speaks truth without fear, the you who no longer plays small to be liked. She's already inside of you. She's just waiting for you to stop shrinking and start showing up. You don't need to be fearless to be powerful. You just need to stop letting fear make your decisions. Fear will tell you to settle. Fear will say, don't speak up, don't walk away, don't demand more. But power whispers, you are made for more. You don't have to stay where love has gone missing. There's power in detachment, not coldness, not indifference, but emotional independence, the kind that says, I love you, but I don't need you to be okay. That's not arrogance, that's maturity, because when you're whole on your own, no one gets to decide your worth for you. Not everyone will understand your healing. Some people will say you've changed. Good, that's the point. Growth is disruptive. It shakes up everything false, fragile, and forced. It exposes what's real, what's honest, what's sustainable, and if your evolution offends someone, they were never meant to join your next chapter. You weren't born to be a chameleon. Stop shifting for connection. Stop trying to be liked by everyone. The version of you that pleases everyone is not your highest self, it's your most afraid self. The real you doesn't seek to fit in. She knows she was made to stand out. Healing isn't glamorous, it's raw. It's lonely, it's uncomfortable, but it's the only way to create a life that's real. A life where you're not faking smiles, not pretending things are okay, not settling just to be safe. Healing is the process of unbecoming everything you thought you had to be, so you can finally be who you are. Stop trying to be chosen by people who don't know how to choose themselves. You cannot teach someone to love when they're still at war with their own reflection. Some people can't give you peace because they haven't made peace with who they are. And that's not your fault. It's not your job to fix. There's a new season waiting for you, but it requires a new mindset, the mindset that says, I don't chase, I attract, I don't beg, I align, I don't prove, I become. When you shift from chasing love to embodying love, everything around you begins to change. You stop clinging and start creating. You're not stuck. You're scared. There's a difference. And the antidote to fear isn't certainty. It's action. It's one bold decision at a time, saying no when it's easier to say yes, walking away when it's easier to stay, choosing growth when it would be easier to numb out and settle. You were not made for numb. You were made to feel, to rise, to lead. You're allowed to walk away from people who once felt like everything, because sometimes everything is exactly what's blocking the next thing. There's no shame in leaving what doesn't evolve with you. Loyalty to your past should never cost your future. Let it go with love, but let it go. The people who truly love you will never ask you to betray yourself to keep their love. They will celebrate your strength. They will respect your evolution, and they will stay not because you made yourself small, but because they see how powerful your light truly is. Most people aren't afraid of failing. They're afraid of being seen. Truly seen, because being seen requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires courage, but real connection lives on the other side of that risk. If you want love that's deep, real, and safe, you must first be willing to show up as your full, unedited self. Don't apologize for how much you care. Don't shrink from your sensitivity. Your emotional depth is not a weakness. It's your superpower. In a world that numbs, your ability to feel is revolutionary. Don't let the emotionally unavailable convince you that your standards are too high. Let them go. You deserve someone who craves your emotional truth, not someone who's threatened by it. You are not asking for too much. You are just asking the wrong people. The right people will meet you in your emotional depth. They won't flinch at your standards. They won't make you feel needy for needing love. They will honor the fact that your heart doesn't play games. It plays for keeps. Life will test you with people who don't see you to prepare you for the ones who will. Every heartbreak is a teacher, every rejection a redirection, and every good bye you thought would break you is actually carving out space for a better hello. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your heartbreaks. You are the phoenix rising. You are the author rewriting the ending. You are the light that cannot be dimmed, even when the world tries to blow you out. You've survived every hard day so far, and that's not luck, that's power. Stop seeking closure from the people who broke you. Your healing doesn't need their apology. It needs your decision, the decision to rise anyway, to rebuild anyway, to glow even in the dark, especially in the dark. There is nothing more beautiful than someone who's been through fire and still chooses to love, who's been hurt and still opens her heart. That is your magic. That is your rarest strength. Don't let a temporary pain convince you to live a guarded life. Stay soft, but protect that softness with fierce standards. You don't need to wait for the next relationship, the next opportunity, the next chapter to feel complete. You can start now, right now, with who you are, what you have, and what you know. Wholeness is not about having it all. It's about knowing you already are. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not broken. You're exactly where you're meant to be for your next level of growth. Life isn't linear. Healing isn't neat. Progress doesn't always feel like success. Sometimes growth feels like grief, and that's okay. Feel it, honor it, but don't stop there. Keep moving. The person you're becoming needs you to let go of who you were. She's stronger, bolder, softer in all the right ways. She trusts herself. She speaks with clarity. She walks away from what no longer fits. She no longer begs to be understood. She simply becomes undeniable. Your job is not to chase love. Your job is to become love, the kind that walks into a room and raises the standard, the kind that leaves people better than you found them, the kind that no longer tolerates emotional crumbs because she knows she's a full course meal. This is your time to rise, to evolve, to demand more from yourself and for yourself, to stop repeating patterns that lead to pain, to stop romanticizing potential and start choosing reality. This is your becoming, your glow up, your emotional graduation. Don't go back to what you've outgrown. Don't settle because it's familiar. Don't compromise your peace for momentary company. You are not alone. You are in a sacred transition. And what's coming is greater than what you've left behind. One day, someone will thank you for not giving up, for rising when it was easier to collapse, for choosing love even when your heart had every reason to shut down. But more importantly, that someone will be you. You are enough. You've always been enough. And now, it's time to live like it.